G'day punters, welcome back to the Punters Academy. John Walter from racingwatch.com.au.
Yeah, you forget who I am, mate. It's been a while.
It has been a while. John's been out with, a couple of heats?
Backs and I don't know what happened the first time. I can't remember.
You had a lurgy or something?
Don't know.
Had to lock you up,
I'm basically gone. I'm finished.
Indeed. Yeah. So what we're going to do, John, is just review Randwick from last week prior to Saturday's meeting, and we'll also talk about the Melbourne meetings briefly as well.
Okay.
So we'll start with the gym crack, and the leader, Every Rose, did a pretty good effort.
Bless its little heart. Jay Parr all the way. Yeah, no, she was good. It was weird. She blew, I think she was like 280, 290 early, and might have got $5, $5.50 late in betting, which
yeah, it did get out.
I guess the weather was a factor in that. It was a pretty crazy weather day. Like they didn't know how that track was going to play. It was a bit of rain and that, and it was probably the reason why, you know, when they don't know how these 2-year-olds are going to handle, I think everyone sort of just starts nibbling away and going crazy. But she got out to big odds and did a good job. I think at the time, not overly exciting. But
the last section was pretty ordinary.
Yeah, and she sort of shot away earlier. It didn't look like a very exciting race watching it visually, but she did a good job, and she just looks a ready-made 2-year-old that'll get ready for the Magic Millions and you know, jump and run filly. She'll do something. The second Horse of Snowden's that was unlucky in the race. Stella Pauline got a bit of a check before the turn.
Yep.
He was probably the other main one to follow early on, but I think a lot of these horses will get put away now and come back. There is that $1 million 2-year-old race in 4 or 5 weeks, I think 4 weeks. So yeah, so that's a different one. So you'll see a few of those horses staying up. Yeah, they'll stay up for that. Yeah, it's a bit of a funny program for the 2-year-olds this time because it's the first time around that they've had this $1 million race. So keeping an eye out for these horses. They'll have an advantage, the ones that have run this race over those going into it straight up, you'd think.
Well, Global Quest won the Breeders and ran vast a time off a similar first sectional.
Yep.
What do you got to say there, John?
Similar go. I think 1-2 across the line. The Godolphin horse was well back. Was it Bailix or something? He was a little bit disappointing, I guess you could say. He wasn't probably as strong as everyone thought he'd be, and the winner was strong, camped in right behind him, and Postcode sort of sat third fence and ran up a few backsides and lost all its momentum to go up the inside. I thought it was probably unlucky not to win, but definitely 1-2 across the line, looked the most progressive, and Postcode I think is going around this Saturday, and he's one that's getting targeting that $1 million race in a few weeks. So I'm not sure what the heck's going on with Global Quest, but definitely 1-2 looked like they had a bit of substance. As you said, they ran a better time, so he might be an interesting horse heading to a race that I don't even know what it's called. It's probably got a very exciting name. It'll have a name.
Golden something.
It'll have a name, but I don't know what it is.
Right, okay.
And I cannot be bothered looking it up. Yes.
Okay, Benchmark 88 won by Dealmaker, finally.
That's about all you need to say about that, wasn't it? I think that was the race of his, like, if you've ever seen a race where it was just tattooed that was Dealmaker's race, like about 5 litres. He was the only run-on horse. I think he drew low. Everything looked like it was going to fall his way, and he just had to show up, and he did. Time was...
Yeah, I was a bit sick there.
Time's good.
Was that got unders?
Yeah, it was. It was a 100-1 chance. That's his company for an 11-year-old, but that's...
I had a good result going for it, and to me it was just going to go straight past it.
Yeah, well, it did, didn't it? And you just wanted the typical deal maker to just sort of duck in behind him and do something stupid and get beat. And unfortunately for me, he stuck his head out. But no, he's been a bit of a marvel, this preparation, got unders. He was good to me, 50-1 up at Port Macquarie or Coffs.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he's trained right on. Like, he's doing a great job with him, that Jay Hopkins.
Yeah, it's going well actually.
Because there's no excuse there. They've run good time.
Yep.
There's no reason he can't, keep.
Well, he ran on.
I mean,
that helped Dealmaker too. That pace.
The pace. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I got restitution here with Funstar, so I was pretty keen on it. I had it very short and against Probabil. I suppose a lot of the video watchers went Probabil.
Yeah, it was funny because it was a classic of a small field where you knew that Funstar would have more control over its destiny, whether you thought it was going to go to the front like it did or sit outside leader or on pace. You always thought it was going to be in front of Probabil and have a bit more control over when...
Well, they walked.
Yeah, what they did. Well, that was it. And then
9.4 lengths to the 800.
After 200 metres, I don't know what price you wanted to take Funstar, but for me it was about $1.10 I would have been happy to take. Like, once Probabil was forced to go forward and McDonald was controlling on the fence, like, there was had to fall over to get beat. I think it was.
And look, interestingly, they slowed down a couple of lengths even between the 800 and the 600 too before before they sprinted between the 6 and the 4.
Karen would have been really mindful that he's had to use it up a little bit early and would have had to try and cuddle as far and that just played into the hands of the horse with the sit sprint. And she's no excuses really for Probabile. She's just a bloody good horse, Fun Star. She toyed. How well did it travel? It was madness, and I know the Times says that it was entitled to have plenty up its sleeve.
And there was like a general commentary I think going around that the horse over raced and wouldn't settle after the previous race, but I thought it was more as a result of the check that it got.
Certainly.
It started to over race once it got in that and got that.
Well, he got it into a perfect spot. It was all everything was going perfect, and as you said, they just sort of pulled up a bit in his face, and that was it. He was out of business, and it was he probably rode it too well, and then the horse in front of him have checked him and got a going keen. Absolutely. If that hadn't have happened, if they'd have kept rolling, she probably sits behind and pulls out, wins by whatever. She probably wins comfortably in that race. Her win was definitely underplayed, even though she was probably a little bit lucky to hold off Probabile, but. There was definitely merit in the win, regardless. And when she got the control, and she's turned it into, say you're worried she's at a mile, maybe she's at an issue, which I don't think it is. Once she had those, late 11.4 lengths to the 600 shy of, so that it's basically just a sprint up 400.
Well, the sprint up, even 6 to 4, they really started to turn the heat up there, and
you see what they did to the margins behind. Obviously those horses are not the classiest behind, but they just absolutely smashed the margins behind the top two. So they've done something in that last 600 metres, and that horse, Fun Star, I don't know where, she's probably been put away, I guess. That's probably her grand final, done and dusted. Probably won't see her in the spring, but she's a serious horse. And so is the second filly. She'll show up, and she's probably not a small field. She'll show up in things like the Mire and those sort of races, I guess, when she gets to a 3-year-old year. Autumn. I don't think we'll see her either. I haven't seen Probabile talked about since the flight. I haven't seen either of them talked about. So I'm assuming they've both done their job for the spring. They'll come back in the autumn, and they'll be serious horses.
Yeah. Okay, the Premier won by Brutal. I must admit, I went into this race knowing or that Brutal could have been much shorter in my market. I had it about 12 to 1, and post a very, very good push from Lizzie in the yard, and Ronnie was saying it was definitely much more forward than they thought it was, and then there was some decent support in the ring in Sydney as well, so that sort of then prompted me to sort of go back and revise that, and I ended up saving on it. But I did back Classique Legend, which I thought was a bit disappointing.
Well, I thought the race would be run differently, and I thought there were two possible chances. Obviously, the late inclusion of Home of the Brave sort of changed the way the race might be run. Originally, when Home of the Brave wasn't in there, it just looked like Brutal, Classic Legend settling 1-2 race over. Obviously, Home of the Brave in there, but where Classic Legend, I thought he'd give it a dig, and I thought maybe Brutal would either be forced to push on or take the sit on them, and Classic Legend would settle closer. I'm not saying that was an excuse for how. I'm not saying he went bad. He nearly did go bad.
You're a bit surprised that Classic Legend got back as far as...
Well, 100%. And I thought that Nash looking over his shoulder and that gave himself up, that he thought the only danger was behind him, and totally forgot about Brutal and Home of the Brave, who were doing their own thing up front. And I think he probably erred. But I still think the horse was very soft late in the race. He definitely was going to be in the finish and knocked up. He's good enough horse to overcome those sort of times and have been in the finish. He was definitely a little bit weaker late than I would have expected, Classic Legend. And I was in the same boat as you. I would have thought they were the two leading chances. And what Home of the Brave nearly wins in another 100 metres. That's sort of what scares you with horses behind. I was like Classic Legend. Brutal was entitled to knock up. He sat outside the leader, put the race away, and he was entitled to get tired late. But the way that Classic Legend weakened after a run under its belt, and obviously there was an issue with Osborne Bulls. Just from that, for that race going forward, I'd be worried about Classic Legend. I know everyone thinks I've been Twitter warring with a couple of people about him in the Everest. He's got to improve enormously.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, you would have to believe to be able to take on better than Home of the Brave, and Brutal's not running, but. I think it's another level going to the Everest, and he's really got to find a few lengths.
Okay, Very Elegant won the Hill Stakes. Good effort considering how far back she was, and they only went pretty much even splits, and right up to the 600. So it was
we're down here, aren't we? Yeah. So
it was very well.
Timmy was absolutely shattered after this race that he got beat. Like Sam Adout didn't look home and home. It was home, and probably the rain was what got her home. It's very elegant. She's a nightmare. I hate her with a passion as a horse. I don't know what it is. I've just never liked the horse. I just hate horses that get their head up. I hate things that throw that. She never settles, and she's just got so much ability. She can overcome it when she's got something in her way. Like obviously the track was not really suited to run-ons there, but so she's overcome that. She's overcome that, but all she needs is like the wet. That was all she needed to know that she's going to be. She was never going to win at any stage. She was just never going to win, but you knew she was going to win. I don't know what it is, that horse. I
must admit it. The 100, I thought Sam Adout would hold.
Yeah, it was just home, but you just know she's a punish. She just wins to annoy you. I don't know she's just a punishing horse, very elegant. That she overcomes all her poor characteristic that she does, like her racing and the way she heads. She just drives you mad at where she gets to in the run. She's just a very unlikable horse from a punter's perspective, but she's got a great record regardless. So I don't know where the heck she goes. I know Sam Adout's going around in the Craven this week, which is the same race basically. I think it's 2,000 metres. Weight for age. So
I remember the Craven.
Yeah, well, it's not the Craven like it used to be.
Called Happy Clapper in the Craven.
Well, he's in it again. He's in again this week.
With the classic uniform.
Yes, that was Tim. Lead all the way.
And the good man on the back of Happy Clapper barred me after I made a comment about the ride.
Well, and he's not. I don't think the Happy Clapper going around this week is as good as that Happy Clapper. So I think Tim's horse will be ideally placed this week back on a dry track. He'll run well, but it's a bit of a funny. The top two out of the race. I don't know where I think she probably goes to a Caulfield Cup or something like that. If she gets in, I don't know. Very elegant. I don't know if she's in the race or not, but she's a punish. But she's got a big engine.
Yeah, really good turn of foot.
She does. So knock on the first two there. The rest behind it probably need to find easier.
Epsom won by Colding. God bless it. Great result. And what a ride from G. Voss. Put it right up on the speed. Very fast early pace. They went about 13.4 lengths fast to the 800 and slowed down a little bit. So
do you say it's a good ride, or do you say?
Well, I'm saying he.
Or do you say the horse is just beyond airborne?
He just made the right decision.
Do you remember when Hugh Bowman got this horse beaten a goddamn benchmark 65 or something? It was at Kensington, and he got it beat by Cuba. Anyway, I'll never get over that. I think this horse. So go back 2 starts, Colding. If you watch the replay really closely, it was nearly impossible to run on that day out wide. This horse circled him from back. He was going to get beat. Fierce Impact ran away from him. He was going to get beat. I'm not saying Glenn Boss did anything wrong, but this horse lifted itself, in my opinion. You watch the replay, this horse just found another gear with 50 to go and ran past Fierce Impact. Fierce Impact's come out and gapped him in Melbourne.
Yep.
And if you watch it again, this race, he's like off a fast tempo, he's gapped them again. This horse has come at it, it's going to beat it for sure. Tiakau Nick, or whatever his name is, not Tiakau Nick, Tiakau Shark.
Yep.
And Colding's had a look at him and said, "Not today, brother," and pissed off again. I've never seen a horse
it was gone, wasn't it?
That's going as good as Colding. It's just insane how well. I'd be running the Cox Plate. I don't know. I'd run in anything. It's like it's got a bloody heart as big as Far Laps. Like it's overcome a bias and tempo the 2 starts ago. It's run down a horse. It's come out and won a Group 1 handicap since. It's come out and sat in a fast tempo, run away from him. The horse has had a cold sit, run up to it and said no and run away from it, and they've gapped the rest. Like, its form's insane, Colding. I don't know whether he looks after it or what, but this horse is just something special for mine. I think he's really gone to a crazy level.
Yeah,
I think he's
much better horse.
Yeah, he's just a weapon, and then no knock at all on Tiakau Shark or whatever. Like, it was obviously a little bit more difficult to run on wide there that day, and he's done a good job, but he's had pace to help him.
Sure. Yeah, and the speed definitely helped.
Yeah, and Colding's just huge effort. But
to sit up on such a brutal pace and do it.
Yeah, and you've seen Natoya, who got beat 4 or 5, it come out and win the angst, and again, like, overcome a little bit of the bias this week. I should talk about it, but like, the form's standing up from well behind them too, and Fierce Impact standing up. It's just all that form's very strong. I think. And there'll be races where they'll run mile handicaps things over the carnival that the form will really stand up well going to Melbourne, I think.
Okay. let's talk about the Metro. Come Play With Me,
Yeah.
the Western Australians, very fast run Metropolitan, was able to get the job done.
Yeah, I hated this race. Just trying to look at it and work it out before it. I was shattered for Tim because he was on the Hush Rider. Just you spit on the track and it blows up and just won't go. And it sort of saddled third the fence on the fast tempo and looked like it was going to come around the leader's heels and just wheel spinning. So it was just a bit of a funny race. It was always going to be a bit of a bunched finish, I thought, and a bit of a lottery who won it.
Yeah.
And this horse was the one that stuck its neck out. No knock at all. I see it's in the noms for not the Craven, whatever the race is, St Ledger on Saturday. A lot of these horses that will be in this race will be in that race, and I'm sure it'll be a similarly bunched sort of go. But I can't see anything coming out of it and winning any of the big races over the carnival, despite the crazy time they've run.
The Metro winner's got a pretty poor record, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I don't know who was
in the cups and
I think
stuff.
Brigham Rock. Looking at it, so who we got? Brigham Rock will come out. So it's got beaten not far, 3.8. It's probably the one horse that can bounce off it, but the rest of them, I can't really see them playing a major part in a big race. Like you can see even like if Waller had a huge opinion, not saying that he doesn't have an opinion of the horse, like it's coming off a Group 1 win, Come Play With Me, but if it was airborne, it would have been in the Caulfield Cup, it wouldn't be in the St Ledger this Saturday. So, it can definitely come out and run well on Saturday. I just don't see any of them playing parts in the Melbourne Cup, Caulfield Cup.
Righto, and the benchmark 88 to finish the last, Senior Fox, who I probably thought might have needed the run, but surprised.
His trial was really good, but I agree with you. 1,200 metres first up on a bit of a testing surface was always going to be a big task. I think the horse is is a good horse. I think he's a black type horse. There's no doubt about that. But it was pretty much a group race without being called that. Like even though it was a benchmark 88, there was some serious horse in there. It wasn't the horse in the Brutal's colours. Went just absolutely. Was it outrageous?
Outrageous, I think.
It went like an absolute jet. The second horse was a bit stiff, Reelam in Ruby, but safe ground, was in the right spot, whereas Outrageous was up there sort of 3 and 4 wide and just kept coming. It was just probably far and away the run of the race. He's a pretty quality horse, and I think the winner, I think they'll probably give him a 3-week, 4-week gap to get over that run, because I reckon it'll be pretty taxing. But he can win a Group 3 listed, something like that, no doubt, over the carnival. He'll be well placed, and so can Outrageous.
Righto, well that's Randwick from 2 Saturdays ago. We'll just quickly talk about Flemington on that same day. You might want to bring something up.
Try and find something, because it's going to test me that. Test my...
Well, Paris Lane, I'll just make a couple of comments about this race. That was won by Rich Itch. Race 2. Look, I made a comment earlier in the week on Twitter. I think there was 4 horses out of the handicap in that race. Under 14 to 1, and 3 of them ran first 4. Including the winner, who's now gone from a 70 to a 96, and it sort of had to.
That's what they smashed the benchmark was.
Well,
oh wow!
Well, it was 25 out of the handicap. So it had to get at least a 25 plus something.
Wow, and it only carried 5 kilos under the top weight. Jeez, that's a nice smashing.
They've won $175,000 race. They've costed a lot of money going forward, in my view.
Bloody oath!
They're burning some money there. But
because you think that's harsh, isn't it? Because
they have to vote, because it was 25 points out of the handicap.
I understand what you're saying, but he's only carried 5 less than the top. It should have carried 12, 17 less or something. So they've handicapped him on that. But he's just set weights penalties. I know what you mean. They do it a lot.
Seemed like a strange.
Yeah, depending on, like, if you're doing that with a horse, you want to do that with a horse you think's a Group 1 horse and it's irrelevant. You just want to get its rating up to get it in races. But when I don't think it's a Group 1 horse, with all due respect, Rich Itch.
No.
It's going to be hard to place going forward for sure.
Yeah, so that's probably that race. Hawkbury on her continues to race well and was able to get
so this was the
again.
mad fence day. This was the fence day, wasn't it?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say yes, just to annoy you. No, this is the day I'm talking about. This is the day that everyone thought it was mad fence. I didn't watch. I know Warning come down the outside and the last winner come down the outside fence. But
I didn't think there was a bias. But I mean, look
At all?
That's the great thing about it, isn't it? Like we've all got.
I tell you, when I thought it was a bias was when Hawkbury on her led all the way, and you knew that the only reason they backed it was because of the perceived bias, whoever it was. She was heavily backed because of that.
It was all pace related to the first 4 races.
Well, that was the most incredible part, that everyone was saying that it was leader fence, but they kept leaving the leaders alone on the fence. It was it was a funny.
So yes,
funny
there
day.
was the discussion or plenty of comment.
Yeah.
Out there in Twitter world regarding the perceived bias, but
Can we talk about these poor blokes who, like myself, who sidled into the $3.50 warning into $1.65 in the maiden start before, and then it went to 1800 with blinkers on and smashed them in a listed race? Do we have any time to feel sorry for those people?
No, not really. I mean,
when it was climbing, and then you seen it go 20-1, and you thought, there's a horse I was supposed to back in Melbourne today, but I can't remember what race it was in. And then you see it trucking up behind the leaders, and you're like, oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
at least it can't get out from there, can't win. And then it sort of ran in 4 more dead ends, and then got out and went, maybe I'm going to win the Derby.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I couldn't win a maiden for you last start over a mile at wherever. Thanks.
That's the way it works.
Appreciate it.
So Sunlight returned and the Gill guy winning there.
It can win the Derby too, in all seriousness. I'm not saying it is. I'm sure it'll go around this week. It's a serious horse warning, just for anyone. Yeah, go on. Sunlight.
Yeah, well, Sunlight's back to form, and good to see that. And
great ride, wasn't it? And had its chance.
Good ride.
Yeah.
Well rated and
set weights penalties very well placed. The second horse was extremely well placed as well, Santa. Even though it was, I think it was difficult to come from where it was, and well rated in front again, wasn't taken on. They run decent time, so it had a difficult job to. I think it still carried 60, but it was still very well weighted, relatively. Santa, so they're both probably pass marks for an Everest perspective. We'll talk about the Everest later.
Yeah. Okay, Kingswell Dream won the Turnbull, which was a very slowly run affair, about 7.8 lengths below to the 800, and even a bigger slowdown to 9.7 to the 6, which made it impossible for Mystic Journey.
Yep.
And the other horse, was it Mr. Quickie, I think, one of the other fancied horses?
Yeah, he went like I know that is an excuse in itself, but he sort of seemed to go like an absolute.
Well, everyone's talking about the fact that Mystic Journey went back, and some people were suggesting that it should have been.
I didn't think the ride was that bad, yeah.
Look, I mean, they had suggested that they were going to
ride it conservatively. Yeah.
And on the map that I had, it was no way it was going to get closer. It had to go back.
Yep.
Or sit very well.
I got nothing.
So look, I mean, you've got to forget about Mystic Journey from.
Well, and it's Cox Plates, it's goal. I know they would have loved to win the Turnbull on the way through, but they weren't going to burn her. And like it's not as if she's a 3,200 metre horse in this race that they can go and drive her out and use her up. Like it was just. It is what it was. It was what it was that day, and if they got up, they got up. They got up. They weren't too worried about it. It was a stepping stone.
Yeah, indeed. Surprise Baby, I thought was probably the best performance of the day. It was quite incredible. It was about 8 lengths off them, around about the 800, I think.
Now favourite for the Melbourne Cup.
It was a great effort, and at the weights, it'll get in the Cup. I can see it's a real chance.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I couldn't name you a Melbourne Cup runner other than Surprise Baby, so I'm not going to argue with you. I think I'd have to have a favourite because she's the only horse I know of.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm just saying there's no fluke to this.
A little bit of improvement.
Yeah, there's no fluke to it, and she looks like 32 is not going to be an issue.
Yeah, I could have had a rating higher if they'd gone a bit quicker in the race.
And you would think she would have been more dominant if they did.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep. And how do you explain this win of the last horse at 50s?
Moonlight Maid, poor race.
Went like a jet.
Well,
did it go like a jet? Well, if you don't think the fence was hot, maybe it didn't go like a jet.
Yeah.
Jury's out. Jury's out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
So that wraps up Flemington that day. So let's get on to Randwick, just Saturday just gone.
Yep.
Eminelia, is it?
I wouldn't even bother. Highway, dirty highway. That horse did more work
race
than anything I've ever seen and kept running. Time was horrendous, was it? Yeah, horrendous.
Yeah.
Last section, horrendous.
Shitty highway.
Yeah, that's enough.
That's enough. Next horse, Master of Wine.
Yeah.
Finally, they get this horse to perform, riding it back off a fast pace.
Tempo, yep.
It showed its wares. And
I've never seen Tim that far back in a race in my life. Like, you normally say, Tim, you're going to ride this quiet. He's like, yep, that means outside leader.
Yeah.
And he was like 3 behind him. It was just really weird to watch. They backed like the race was over. They knew what they were doing. And he definitely got some upside, this horse. If you watch the start before, I don't know how the heck he got it beat. Like, it got chopped out 3 times and was still climbing over and then sort of savaged the line.
Yeah,
it was
I backed at the start before.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was $1.60 that day, so I can understand why you would have. But it's you can understand why they backed it. I think it had plenty in its favour the way the race worked out, but certainly dominant. Overall time very good and can be followed in a similar race.
Grey Worm finally got the chocolates.
Yeah, I think this was a
good odds too, surprisingly.
Surprisingly good odds considering its effort to start before, and it was the horse that drew well in this race to get a good run no matter what. So it was ugly from a map perspective for me, where there were 3 or 4 horses that could pressure, but that Grey Worm was drawn the spot where it was always going to settle right behind them. It could lead if they went into walk, or it could take up that run right behind who was the leader? I can't remember, but anyway, they've controlled the race. It was always going to get over the leader, and then the way they've run it, it was always going to be nearly impossible to run down. I think Quackerjack and Tim Road of what's it called? It's got a weird name, not Imperator Augustus, but a name like that. The thing of John Thompson's ran second. So yeah, I don't think there was much to be learnt out of this race, but I think what you say is exactly right. The surprisingly good odds, sort of 4-1, about this horse. Looked at an each way knock taker.
Very well back the previous start.
That's what it made no sense, and it was very unlucky. Yeah, well, it should have won. Yeah. And this race looked eternally better, easier for it, especially coming off that. Set up beautifully. So anyway, anyone who found it, well done.
The next horse, the Stan Fox, I think the wrong stablemate won.
Well, I laughed. I got plenty of attack and death threats and everything that it was row here and path 2. I wanted to get onto Twitter and drop the old one for the subscribers, #Collada or something, just to really ruin my life and have the stewards and the police and everyone investigate me.
Yes,
and I did run it past the boys after the race to say that I did type it up to create a bit of drama, but thought probably not best for everyone's future.
They're all going on about what track record or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's like they've run about 1500s in the lives they were in. The track was actually on fire.
Very few.
But the horse did keep going.
So just on the track, so officially a good fall.
Yeah. Okay.
Our figure's 2.5.
Yeah, which has got to be closer. So I think if they were even realistic, they would have called it a 3.
So the rain.
So it's closer to what? Yeah. Then I think they reckon that. I think if there wasn't a forecast for possible rain on race day morning, they would have ordered it on race day morning. Yeah. So I think they were a bit shattered that they didn't cop any rain. So yeah, certainly a fast track. On that race itself, no defensive job. If I'm looking at the race, you've got a horse in, what was his name? Batiga, that's had 2 starts in his life. He's settled way back in both of them in really low grade. So we're talking maiden class 1.
Yeah.
Very unlikely, even though he's going up slightly in distance, that he's going to settle further forward from a wide draw. Stablemate's gone forward. Everyone's left him alone, not just Josh. He's out the back, sort of dictated to run off his legs, if anything. You've got 2 Gay Waterhouse horses that were like 3 lengths behind chasing, so they're sort of 3 and 6 behind.
Well, the race was won between the 6 and the 4, where Collada's gone pretty much the quickest split of the day.
And Tim, that's what I'm watching the race thinking, well, Tim's going to win. A cock match or whatever. I thought, well, it just has to win because this thing's got to stop.
Yep.
Just watching it, and I think I heard Hippo say the same thing. He said, I've just got to keep up my gallop. And he was like 6 off him, thinking, well, I'll win. I'll catch both of them because they're going too fast. Josh is out the back. No one's carted into the race because they're going so fast, they can't pull out and go. You know what I mean? Like, there's no opportunity at any stage where they stacked up to get into the race. So Collada, it was just a great ride, like you say. And the horses, it wasn't the 25-1 chance. It was just the price is wrong in reflection.
Yeah.
If you take away its last start, where I know Gerald came on and said they've gone too slow. All due respect to Tommy, he went too slow. I think they went about 20 lengths under average or something to the 600 last start with 61 kilos. And as you can see, this horse is a roller. He's not a sit sprinter. So. In hindsight,
good tactical ride.
It was, and in hindsight, the price was wrong, and I don't see him going around 25-1, even up in distance in a Bondi Stakes for $1 million next start. So, I'm not saying to be on him, but he definitely won't go around $26.
Cosmic Force got the job done in the Roman Consul.
Few heart tremors for the people who backed. I thought it was a weird race. I couldn't believe how short Microphone was. His trial was disgusting.
Yeah, it was ordinary.
Like horrid. They said he worked well between races. So what? Like, that's not a race, any sort of race situation.
Well, it was priced on talent.
Yeah, and if you sort of go, it makes sense, or talent exactly, and the trial makes sense if you watch him. He's a stallion like no other horse I've ever seen. He's going berserk walking around. They're telling him to keep the greys away. They get away from the greys. I don't know if you've seen Darren Beedman before the race. They had one of those, the eavesdropping things where they're listening to the comments between the rider and the trainer before the race, and he's like, just keep him away from the greys. He's there bellowing in the bloody mounting yard. The horse is just dead set, ready for the breeding barn, and raced in similar fashion. Like, he's just got the edge off him. He's apparently huge. He's just let down already, and he's a big, strong bugger. So I was surprised he was not very soft in the market. Cosmic Force had the run.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good ride. I honestly think that if he had have bluffed at the start and taken hold rather than pushed on, he could have got into trouble.
Yeah.
And he's done it. He's done a good job to lead, stack him up a little bit, and then did look like that. Was it dirty work or something? Ran up to him and it looked like he had a lap full. I thought he was gone, and I was watching Josh come down the outside. I thought, oh well, at least Josh is going to win.
Dirty Work got beaten at Hawkesbury, didn't it? Very short price favourite from memory.
Yeah, I think it ran into a decent...
It had that form behind Bivouac, I think.
Yeah, and I think it ran into a good horse that day from memory.
The thing that won at Canterbury.
Yeah, and then that's
Sangria,
right. It stayed in the gates at
yeah.
Newcastle. Sangria, and then it won again. So, like the pattern obviously helped the guys up in front that controlled the race. Microphone was a pass mark. I'm just very concerned about him as a horse. I don't know what the hell they do with him, whether they get him out in distance or what he does with a bit of racing, but he's got to be taken on trust. He's just got other things on his mind. But 1-2 across the line, stand out. That was the first time it's beat. It's run second there. It's done a good job. Its first prep, and Cosmic Force could certainly go to a Coolmore and be competitive.
Righto, Natoya got the job done in the Ang Stakes, had the race run to suit, and it's been going really well prior to that.
It was the best placed horse on a fair track that I've seen in a long time. As in, like, it had the beautiful setup, well weighted. It had come out of the Epsom 7-day back up, and it had the run in the Epsom where it wasn't too taxing. It was out the back, obviously pace assisted, flash down the outside. So it was a horse you would think. I think it was third. I think it was only second up in the Epsom. It was unlucky in the Newmarket at Newcastle, and come back to mare's grade. It just looked ideally placed, but it's never going to be straightforward with this horse. It's a bit of a lunatic. I don't know if you read the article from Wendy Sochi, paraphrasing. She's gone like, well, this horse loves beer, chicken schnitzels, pizza, whatever. She just feeds it like this. She said, and at the races, I always feed it scones and jam with strawberries on top or something. Like, she's dead set MAD, the trainer, the horse's MAD, and it was a great ride. As it turned out, he did give the run to the old J Collett special, sticking hard up against the fence, and looked all over a winner. But this horse is pretty classy, and I think he did everything he could to get her over the line. And she can run well in a very similar race. So can the second horse probably, but it had pace to suit, and I think that inside portion was probably no disadvantage at worst. So all honours with Natoya, and she can run well in something similar.
Shadow Hero won the Spring Champion, and again took its Rose-Hill form and made good here. And obviously the race was run to suit. What do you say about Castlevecchia?
Bloody. From a personal perspective, this was a roller coaster. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, Josh has gone and put me in the paper and said, oh, well, I've chosen Shadow Hero because of my manager John Walter's calculations. Like, I don't even own a calculator, so I don't know where he's come up with that from. But it was just a mutual decision that this was probably the best way to go, and he's gone and thrown me under the goddamn bus trying to make it so that he's got somewhere to hide if it doesn't win. And they've come around the bend. Tim's like controlling, shot away. I thought, well, Tim's home. Then that grey thing at 1,000s has come after it. I thought, well, it's going to win, Rachel King. And then Castelvecchio's chiming. He's going to win. And Josh was the only one that was never going to win the race. And then he's gone and won by a length and a quarter or something. And it was actually quite a soft win. So in answer to your Castelvecchio question, he has gone like an absolute rocket. Definitely had the most difficult task in the race, coming from back and wide. 1,400 to 2,000, not ideal. Pattern of the day, not ideal. Everything against him, and he's run extremely well. Where does he go is the question. Whether he goes back to a mile for the Bondi, which I hear is not likely. Does he go to a Cox Plate if he can get in? Does he go to a Vase and onto a Derby? I don't know. But Shadow Hero goes straight into the Derby, and an extra 500 metres doesn't look a worry.
No.
For him.
He's just it's just been well suited in the last couple of wins. He's done a good job.
He has, and Josh has ridden him well. He's had things in his favour. Probably, as like the pattern probably wasn't ideal. It was a bit of a worry, but definitely his staying prowess is what came to the fore in the last 150 metres of the race, and that's probably what will happen again in Melbourne, hopefully. Like this Mark Newnham, I know I'm a bit biased because we've got Josh riding his horses, but he gets fillies going, he gets stayers going, he gets 2-year-olds going, he gets, he's the full package as a trainer, and he's really in the top echelon of training. He just doesn't make too many mistakes. He rides them himself. He plans out there. He maps out their plan early, sticks to it, doesn't have multiple tracks in his mind very often. If he does, it's only, it all usually makes sense, everything he does, Mark. And he's an incredibly easy trainer to find from a punter's perspective, because thoughts gone into it. Like, they're all his horses, when they get to, first or second up, they might not be in the right races, but he's got something in mind. So when they look suited, they're normally cherry ripe and ready to go. He's the ultimate stable to find from a punter's perspective for mine when they're in a suitable race, because he just gets it right so often.
Righto, the Inevitable won the Silver Eagle. What do you think?
Isn't he a weapon? This little thing. Have you seen? I don't know if you've seen. I've seen a photo. I've never seen the horse in person, but they had just a regular horse next to it, and it's a little cowering little done deal thing. Apparently, it travels on fear. It's not really I'm talking as in travelling to the races, so it's had to get in a plane or whatever. They really get concerned about travelling this horse too far because of it's only tiny to begin with, and condition wise. You look at the efforts it puts in on the racetrack, far out.
Well, it ran the best last 600 and 400 of all the winners on the day.
Okay, yeah. And that's off a fast tempo, or was it just an even tempo?
Just an even tempo.
Okay, even tempo. So he's done that. So he's won to a mile. He's won over 1,000 first up down the straight. He's jumped to 1,201. Now he's come to Sydney and won off a solid tempo against a pattern, if there was one. Can he win a Golden Eagle? I couldn't say no.
No.
He's never faced...
Look, overall time wasn't flash, but I mean, it's...
he's just a winner.
They just went out moderately, but yeah, did a great job.
And he's going to stay here. He's going to stay at the beach or wherever he's at Moss Vale. You can only think that he's going to improve off that run.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good horse.
Agent Pippa, the fresh horse, got the job done there at the 11.
It all makes sense after the race for this horse. Yeah, this horse all made sense after the race.
Like I backed it at, I think when it won at Rose Hill at about 15 to 1 or something.
Yeah,
so then it went to Coffs Harbour and
he dropped it back to 800.
Quite a few of the blokes were saying it was a moral, and I'm sitting there cheekily.
It was like 2s or 3s on or something, wasn't it?
I've gone and laid it. It got out to about $1.80, I think, from memory, or $1.75, $1.80 late. But that inside at the Coffs, I just couldn't see how from barrier.
That's right. Yeah, drew inside too. That was the killer, wasn't it? Yeah, if it drew 10 or something, and you knew it could cruise, different story. But it was always going to be under the pump that day. Yeah. And I think Lee's has now worked out too that it needs to be fresh and race fresh, because geez, it was dominant. Obviously, again, well controlled. Sam Clinton's done a good job. She's controlled the race well, taken advantage of the conditions of the day, and no knock, but had plenty in its favour and hasn't run super duper time. It's not a horse you're thinking, well, I'll get it down the straight in a group race and I'll want to be on it, but no knock on it. It was a bit of a funky race. I think they back traumatised off the map and it just got going like a lunatic. Halfway got keen and it was a pen job. I'd be forgiving it, but it's a tough horse to follow with confidence. It was a bit of a smelly race. I think it's on the day. It was probably the one race where there's nothing I really want to follow coming out of it.
It and the highway probably.
Yeah, well, the highway's completely forgettable.
Okay, so let's talk about Caulfield Guineas Day. We started the race with the debutant over the 1,000 metres for the 2-year-olds. Tanker won that. Look, there was the thing of the top weight in that race. Can't think of its name now, but it went very poorly after being well in the market.
Don't confuse me. There was a lot of confidence about one of was it a Hawks horse that had trialled up in Sydney, and I think it led the race, and I think they were a little bit disappointed in its performance too, to be honest. Saturday, that's really, you think they'd have Caulfield there it is. Top one.
Number one.
Rock of Kryptonite, $4.80. Yeah, and Pounce is the horse I'm talking about. It's SP favourite, $4.20. It was beaten 4 lengths, and yours is
clearly worst race.
7.5.
Worst race of the day. A very poor last section.
So not really 2-year-olds. You're looking at trying to find.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
So Roxter Castle did the good job for me in the next, which was great.
Got good control of the race, didn't it?
It did. Well ridden by
Nolan,
Luke. Yeah, Luke rode that.
And that was a race where it looked a bit messy, like there could be a few flies in the ointment.
I didn't think so. I had it quite short, and look, I did reduce my bet.
Isn't it an easy horse to find from a punter? When it's only you got to look at a map and whatever, and you just know this horse is going to do the same
figures,
thing. Yep.
Clearly the best horse in my book in that race, and did the job well. So
and never, even when it comes up short, it seems to blow or something. It's weird for a horse that profiles so well.
Probably just
yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, and even Luke Nolan these days, I guess he's not got the profile he did when.
How well ridden was California Zimbol?
It was. It's a jet. The horse.
It is, isn't it?
It's a jet. It's a fair dinkum jet.
Yeah.
It's a horse. It's the first time it's got to a big track.
Close off a race.
Yeah, you can. I think it's won twice at Canterbury. It never got really onto its right leg and let down. Like it's sort of crabs around that joint. It's
well, those couple of runs in Brisbane when it was wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a chase this morning trying to see if it was going to dip to a Manicato or something like that.
Right.
Thought maybe Tim might be able to jump on it if it went to a Manicato, but I think it's going to a Fillies race down the straight. This horse down the straight is something I'm really looking forward to having a look at. I don't think you'll be getting $5. Oh, you might get $5 because it might go up in grade, but it was well ridden, but it was smashed. Loving Gabby, really.
Yeah. So that was the first of my only joy, Roxter Castle in Melbourne.
Should have gone home after that, or did you?
Well, yeah. I chose the Melbourne card as the preferred card to bet on Saturday, and. I couldn't. Had a frustrating. Look, I marked it even, so I had a good.
Which
result.
one? Rock the Castle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I didn't win after.
And so
that.
it was like
Manicure in the Tofane race and that Northwood Plume.
He gave it the
what
old.
Was he doing?
He gave it the Winks barrier trial, looking to see whether out wide was the better ground sort of ride.
Good on you, Hugh. Yeah. You did a great job for me.
I think that horse is a bloody nightmare it's a first up bomb horse, Manicure, and the way it went, it wasn't the same horse on Saturday. And normally Cummings is exceptional.
Really super. I mean, Tofane.
Oh yeah, and it's got that when it feels like it. That sort of. It was one of those races where there were 10, 15 to 1 chances, and there were half a dozen of them that had ability. And it was just whoever got the right run and was in the right mood was going to be a nightmare to beat.
The pay shape was reasonably even. They went above average, and
it was dominant.
They ran really good time, and it came from the back there, and it was dominant. And so
it was awesome that race.
All credit to the winner.
Tofane. The thing that ran. Oh, Sweet Scandal. See all that form. I thought that was pretty. I thought it was going to win Sweet Scandal when it sort of squeezed through, but it was just absolutely.
It was surprisingly short in the market, I thought.
Yeah, that came out of that Grey Worm race, which was poor figures wise, but its performance when it's that wide with Brock on it the whole way, it was sort of a bit special, and so was Grey Worm. So even though it was a bit of a funky race it was coming out of, I wasn't surprised to see both of them run pretty well.
Chosen one won the Herbert Power.
He can be followed by the look of it, can't he? Tofane in the right race.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the figures were really good.
Yep.
Really good figures.
Yep.
Considering the circumstances.
What about the next one? Holy
Chosen
crap.
one. They've gone very fast there. Setting up the race for it. Pretty much the others were out of play.
Yeah. So who was the one that it ran down? That was a very good horse, wasn't it? Prince of Iran or something like that. Prince of Iran. So they were all 4 and 5 wide coming into the turn. Prince of Iran took control and Chosen One ran it down. I think they sort of beat the rest pretty comfortably. Really. So Prince of Iran's probably the one that sat closest to the speed, got into the race the earliest, exposed. Chosen One not want to knock it because of how much merit there is in the race overall.
Yep.
But Prince of Iran, wherever it goes.
I didn't bet in the race, so I don't really have an opinion either way. But look, Flet won the 1,000 guineas in a very tight finish.
Yeah.
The time was just ho-hum. It's just nothing flash. They sort of gone out as slow as they've come
Control.
home.
The leaders had plenty of control.
the three of them hit the line. I thought Flit was under the odds on the day. Didn't bet
Just
the
for where
race.
it was going to be, that was the problem for me, and there was not a lot of speed in the race. So like even though she's probably you would say if like 99 out of 100 people would say she's the dominant filly, the race looked a bit.
Yeah, looked a bit icky, didn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know, Bowman come out and said they sort of team rode against him and Craig Williams or something, but she saved every inch. He rode her absolutely perfect, and it wasn't as if she was. It looked like Missile, whatever it was called, should have won. If they go another 2 strides, it wins. So I don't understand how he could say that she would have been dominant if circumstances were different, because she looked to have a chance. I think she's still got upside. I don't know if they're talking Cox Plate, maybe throwing her in there, but that's a big ask, isn't it? But
I think so.
Yeah, she's not like nothing coming out of that race says that she'll be winning a Cox Plate, but she's a very good horse.
Saw a great effort from Cape of Good Hope in the next race at big odds from the Hayes and Davening stable. They've gone out very slow and they've absolutely rocketed. This horse ran clearly the best 600 and 400 and 200 ratings of all the winners on the day.
Yeah. Over 2,000 at weight for age.
It was just
so he ran down
surprising.
Blackheart Bart, didn't he? Yeah. So and it was just home, and this horse is. Yeah. So I don't know a lot about it. I know they paid a lot of money for it. I know they're sort of north of $1 million.
Well, definitely one to follow with those sort of figures.
Yeah. So where does it go? Cox Plate.
Who knows? Will they go there? Or
I don't know. I don't know the profile of this bloody horse at all. But I think he's after a really good, like not maybe Frank or something crazy. I think or something crazy. It's half to a very good horse. So it's well bred. I don't know whether it's a stallion or what, but they paid a lot of money for it. Maybe it can't be if they've only paid $1 million for it with those sort of bloodlines. But he'll, as you say, completely markets missed him. What he went around 20-25 to 1.
About 40.
And they won't missed him.
Was it 40s? Oh, maybe,
could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been. So they won't. Yeah, they've missed it. This weight for age racing down there's still mad in.
Yeah.
They take turns, and they're talking about paying up 200,000 or whatever it is to put Blackheart Bart in the goddamn Cox Plate.
Really?
Holy heck!
Wow.
It's madness. But anyway, that's weight for age racing.
So the Guineas, the sticker speed of all
I just hope you were on. Were you on it?
I was on.
Tell me on that. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I'm so happy.
And I was coming to the turn. I thought, I'm going to be in the finish, and then coming to the 200, I thought, I'm home.
Well, I would have walked away.
I'm home.
I would have walked away, and I tell
Couldn't
you,
possibly get to see it beat at the
And
home.
if you told
I
me-
knew the others were coming, and he was going to slow.
But kind of coming, they weren't really, were they? And like of all the horses I wanted chasing me, Super Seth was. His effort was good to start before, but I honestly thought he was a Coolmore horse, not a Guineas horse.
Look, what the most frustrating aspect of that was, I think, for me, was that I had Dalasan pretty short. I had it about 10 to 9, and I had it on pretty good information that there'd been problems with the horse.
Dalasan?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And they weren't happy.
Yep.
The betting started to reflect that.
Yep.
Mid sort of betting, it was pretty clear that.
They started finding Kubrick.
It was on the nose.
Yep.
So I put Dalasan to market, and because I had Alligator Blood, a clear second pick.
Yeah.
I've now got this like 5 for 2.
Yeah.
I'm having a decent go at it.
Yeah.
And the operation success, but the patient died.
Yeah, and the winner was a good go. I saw it was like $13-14 the night before, opened up $8 or something like that the next day.
First time.
Yeah, and Jesus, it was another stable, like friggin' Anthony Friedman stable. Can't they win a grand final? They're just incredible. Even the horses that were beaten, like I think Southbank ran a place in the Guineas. Groundswell ran well here. These are horses that were in maidens weeks ago, and he can get them from maidens to this. Like this horse has obviously had a really solid preparation prior, come back this preparation, always had a bit of spruik about him, but wow, what a win.
Indeed.
He's a great rider, Mark Zahra. Jeez, he's a good rider.
Okay, Fierce Impact got the job done in the 2-rack. They went pretty fast here. They've gone about 12 lengths fast.
Yep.
To the 600 there, and it's
a funny race where these sort of races are the races like Epsom or Doncaster where you like to find the 2,000 metre horse. Well, I do. That's going to be strong over the mile, and there weren't too many in it. The only one I could find was Sikandrabad because I thought it'd be up on speed 2,000 back to a mile, and it was ridden back last. So that's how quick they went. They sort of went much quicker than I expected, which is probably a product of those horses. Like I was saying, horses that maybe a 1,400 metre horses racing at the mile. So this horse, well placed, well ridden, holding form, dominant over the rest of them the start before.
Not much to say, is there?
Well, I just can't work out. It was $18 in hindsight. We'll finish that off and then go to part two, but sorry about that.
Yeah, slight technical issue. Okay, we're talking about Fierce.
Yeah, talking about Fierce back, just the price. It was just a bit of a... Like, I didn't bet in the race at all because I just couldn't profile too many horses that I thought fit the bill, but just didn't make sense looking back on it that it was $18.
After the race, it was
after the race.
To see why...
after the race, I'm much better.
Last race there, Trekking won the Scalacci. I backed the Bassoni and I put it set up pretty well into that race.
And you were half home when he got that, especially like it was weird. I marked Dispatch shorter when I sort of went through it, marked it. I didn't like. Well, then it went $15 to $5, but I expected it blinkers off to be sort of third or fifth defence and strong, not boring it up, ball of muscle. Like I don't know what the heck he's had a sort of a bit of a brain fade, old mate. Where the ball of muscle. He's ridden it well.
Gone, is it?
Oh, he's gone. He's gone well considering he got taken on. But he seems to have the horse. They're not going to the fence with him anymore. They sort of kind of like to float 3 or 4 off the fence, and that sold the dummy to J-Mac. And he sort of he said the horse went like a crab anyway. Especially considering the money that went on it. Holy hell, it was a big go.
Yeah, they ran good time. Certainly they went out sort of a little bit above average and came home a lot faster.
This horse is going obviously to the Everest now, and Josh has picked it up. So I had a good look at him last night, and he definitely he had every possible chance here. But like figures wise, that's quite encouraging. It's done something. It's run very well home. They've picked up off of solid tempo and picked up off that, and he's hit the line. Obviously, I think the Bostonian's probably the horse to beat in the Manicato now. I think that form will hold up pretty well.
Too short for me.
Yeah, that's right. But I like it, and watching it, I was just a little bit surprised that he didn't get past Ball of Muscle, did he? Bostonian?
No.
I think Ball of Muscle ran second, which was a little bit surprising. But Trekking went really well. It was a funny race. Betting was weird, 6 to 4 to 1 or something. Trekking, and no real reason for it.
No.
It was just probably weight of money for Dispatch.
Second pick. So
it was just an honest race. Nothing to learn there.
That's the end of part 1. We'll be back with part 2 shortly.
Cool.